It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
SKOR North Twin Show Extra Innings. Declan Goff, Judd Zulgad here from Target Field. Twins take a split with the Cleveland Guardians to wrap up this 4-game series. Judd, I found it interesting that Rocco in the postgame addressed the team. Obviously, addresses them after the game and says, let's forget about this because now every series going forward is the most important series. Now the Twins have another crucial 3-game set against Kansas City, who's just right on their tails for the wild card. Twins were as close as a game and a half back after sweeping the double headers on Friday, but here they sit 3.5 games back. So in reality, it's kind of like this weekend never really happened. And
Right.
Maybe more importantly, though, Cleveland does now hold the tiebreaker over the Twins. They won their 7th game against the Twins, so they hold the tiebreaker in the event that the Twins and the Guards are tied. So this was a big win for the Guardians today. But at the end of the day, I do agree with Rocco. Every series going forward is very important, and a little bit of a missed opportunity here for the Twins to take back the Central.
Well, especially when you swept the doubleheader on Friday. I mean, it's disappointing because you thought, okay, you take the 2 games on Friday, right?
Yep.
And then, you figured you weren't going to have a 4-game sweep, but you figured, okay, if you just win one of the next 2, you take 3 of 4. Kansas City comes here, you're sitting good. So I think Rocco, in saying that to his players, was trying to guard against or somehow cut off the disappointment that is being felt, especially today when you're down 5-1, and then Buck hits the home run, so it's 5-3, and then you load the bases against Emmanuel Clase with nobody out and don't score a run. So yeah, it's certainly not devastating. But a win today, especially if they had come back and won, would have been a signature type of win. It would have been a huge win. And it's not devastating, but I think it is disappointing not to win 3 of 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just a bizarre game today. It felt very old school. I mean, for starters, it was a 3-hour game, which we don't see anymore. The average games are about 2:38, I think, this season. So a 3-hour game, in-game pitching changes for both teams, 14 pitch at-bats, classic Guardians baseball, foul balling the opposition to death, which is what they were able to do against Twins pitchers today.
Yep.
It was just a very wacky game, to the point where Emmanuel Clase, maybe the most dominant reliever in baseball, doesn't look sharp at all today, but somehow escapes a bases-loaded no-out jam by getting a strikeout on a 102-mile-per-hour cutter, not a fastball, a cutter, and then getting, obviously, a very signature and huge double play to escape the jam. But the Twins were literally 1 pitch away from ending this game in the bottom of the 9th against one of the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah, and just an incredible play by second baseman Andre Jimenez on that grounder up the middle, because I thought at first that's a single for sure. It's going to score a couple runs, and he not only is it not a single, he makes the play and starts what was a very difficult double play because he backhands it behind the bag. So yeah, it's a situation where you looked at things overall and you looked at where this team is and was at, and look, I mean, the week or the series started off on a real down note. Like we did see, David David Festa is doing his best, but as we continue to talk about, this is a lot to ask.
Yeah.
This is a lot to ask. Let me give you the probables for a series against Kansas City, which has some pitching too, okay?
Yep.
So tomorrow night, game 1, it's Pablo Day, who has been very up and down to the tune of a 4.74 ERA, against right-handed pitcher Brady Singer, who has a 3.03. Then, according to the game notes that we got today, it's 2 days of TBA. Now, Rocco did say that a roster move has been made, but it's 2 days of TBA right now. And the Royals are going to throw Seth Lugo, who's won 13 games and has a 2.72 ERA and has been phenomenal.
He's been really good this year.
And then in the getaway day game on Wednesday, they're going to end it with Southpaw Cole Reagans, who's won 9 games and has a 3.27 ERA. Like when you're playing good teams, Dex, this is going to make it tough. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Festa, Varland, like, yes, you've still got Pablo and Bailey, but after that, you are missing that definite third guy, which you had.
Yeah. Festus trying his absolute best. He was dominant the first time through the order. Second time through is when things start to fall apart for him. I mean, I loved the move. I was sitting next to you in the press box. I love the move of them going to Alcala there in the fourth, even though obviously Festus wasn't able to do his job. Going to one of your high leverage relievers early in the game in a crucial point. I mean, that could have been the turning point. It ends up not being the turning point because Alcala escapes it with a really important couple outs there. But with the rest of this rotation, yeah, it's a little bit of a question mark on the back end, especially. I actually thought on Friday Louis Varland we saw more good things from Louis, and I would say the 2-out execution and 2-strike execution, which has been his biggest problem. Yes, he gives up the big bomb to Naylor. I get that, but I also thought everything else he did was pretty damn solid. Mm-hmm. We'll see if he's back up here again. He was technically the 27th man for that doubleheader, so he wasn't a part of the active roster. He went back to St. Paul afterwards. But, yeah, it's kind of going to be a little bit of a trial by fire with Festa and Varland or whoever hell Zebby Matthews, if he's going to be called up. That's the position they're in right now.
And he might be called up, too. Like when Falvey addressed us before the series started on Friday, he did not dismiss that when I think Doogie asked him about Zebby. So, yeah, and look, the problem is most of the guys that we're talking about here, it's hope, right?
Yeah.
Like, hopefully Festa can pitch really well as opposed to well for 3 or 4 innings and then start to implode a bit. Hopefully Zebby Matthews can come up. Hopefully Varland has found something. And that's the problem. It's hope. But I mean, Kansas City, which I think is a really solid club, is going to come here and they're going to throw 3 guys at you who, I'm not saying that they're going to win all 3 games. I am saying there's no hope on this sheet to my right here. This is bang, bang, bang. And so, I give this Twins team credit. They are resilient. They could have cashed it in. I mean, heck, Rocco threw Randy Dobnik out there for 3 innings, and you said to me, well, that's a punt game. and Dobnik, to his credit,
he pitched well.
He pitched well. He pitched fine. But the fact was, this team is resilient. I just don't know how far resilience can take you when you don't have Joe Ryan, when you don't have Correa. Like, there's a lot of pieces here. I don't think this team is deep enough to overcome those things. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. Do I feel real confident right now? I would say no, and it's unfortunate that they didn't give me a little bit more confidence because to your point, Cleveland comes in 3.5 back by Saturday morning. It's 1.5, and you're like, holy cow, the Twins could lead the division by the end of the series, and here we sit late Sunday afternoon, and it's 3.5 back again.
Yeah, so they'll get 3 more games against Kansas City here on a very important stretch, trying to hold them off, and also, yes, trying to still take back the division from the Cleveland Guardians, who are still 3.5 games. I have kind of been more tepid on the Twins' chances of catching Cleveland. I would say going in, or especially after the Friday doubleheader sweep, I kind of thought, you know what, I feel a lot better about this chance of trying to catch Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't look as strong. They had lost 7 in a row up to that doubleheader loss.
Yep.
I would still say that I do feel better about their chances. The Twins are of catching Cleveland, but it's still just going to be very difficult to do now. Especially you have 4 more against them in Cleveland in September, which again that probably potentially will decide the AL Central. But now them having the tiebreaker advantage, that is huge. They have that in their back pocket. Cleveland does now for the rest of the season.
And the one, the fly in the ointment of this entire conversation are the Royals.
Yep.
Like when you talk about deciding the division, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be Cleveland or the Twins. Kansas City could sneak in too, and in some ways with the moves that they made at the deadline, I really like that team. And I think of all the players that we talk about right now on all 3 of these teams, Bobby Witt Jr. is probably the best player, right? I mean, Carlos is hurt. Cleveland's got Ramirez is really damn good, so I don't want to discount him. But, I mean, I think that there's a chance for 2024 that Witt is the best player. So, when you're talking about, like, the jockeying for position, the next 3 days are going to be very interesting because you got a hell of a ball club in a division that was a dumpster fire a year ago coming in here.
By the way, the Twins, for good news purposes, on the tiebreaker front, the Twins are 5-2 against Kansas City so far this year. So, A series win will likely clinch the tiebreaker against Kansas City if that arises. Now, again, as Judd just laid out, no easy task in taking the series against Kansas City, who are throwing 3 of their best pitchers in the 3 games. But that is a good news for the Twins. They're not looking up. They're not in a situation where Kansas City owns them in the tiebreaker. So that part, as we get closer to the end of the year, very important to watch for those tiebreakers. We've seen, obviously, 163s before. We know how important and crazy these tiebreakers can get. So the Twins are in a good position there. I guess, last thing, and by the way, we will have a State of the Twins tomorrow with Mackie. We'll have a vibe check. We'll have a favorite thing. We'll have a least favorite thing as well. I would say last thing here for me, Judd, is until they get Carlos Correa, that does feel like a missing. We talk about the rotation, and rightfully so.
Right.
I think both these things can fall into the same bin.
Agreed.
But it does feel like there is that missing, the captain type in Carlos. There's that missing ingredient in this lineup and just around the team in general. Not saying, and Carlos is here supporting, not insinuating he's not here and he's off rehabbing, but he's not playing.
Yeah,
and that is a clear missing ingredient here for the Twins.
Oh, yeah. Well, one, it's huge because, and now here's the question, who comes back? When Carlos comes back, who comes back? Is it the 2023 Carlos, who you still would take? But, I mean, the 2024, my foot doesn't hurt Carlos was phenomenal. So, like, just when we're talking about what you're going to contribute as a player, that's a big question because there's no guarantee that the guy that we saw before he got hurt comes back. But just if you can have him out there, it's still a plus. Like I would not say shut him down. He still plays well enough, and especially in my opinion at shortstop. And then Dex, if you do that, you can kick Castro to second base. So like Farmer started today, right? Like you don't know, and Austin Martin plays his ass off when he plays. But I think I feel a lot better if it just for now, the short term, if and when Carlos comes back, if you got Royce and his throwing issues, Carlos Correa and Castro, and then if you can get Brooks Lee back at some point too. So there's no doubt that I think Rocco doesn't have to stop in the locker room post game and say every series from here on out is the most important if Carlos Correa is playing, because I think Correa, when he's playing, takes care of that assignment.
Absolutely. Hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Again, State of the Twins tomorrow. I believe Trevor Plouffe on Tuesday. He was vacationing in Cabo this weekend, so
that's what I was doing.
You were doing the exact same thing?
Oh, Dawn and I, yeah.
And Stella.
Stella paid for it. Very nice of her. Very nice, despite the fact she hates her haircut.
Yeah, that's another story we can probably get into. Also, go to Purple Daily. Mackie and Judd broke down things with J.J. McCarthy. Appreciate everyone that has already consumed that. Plenty of things happening here, albeit you can expect extra innings episodes Monday and Tuesday. No extra innings episode on Wednesday. Old Dex Tweets is heading to his 1,000th wedding of the year in Florida.
By the way, there's only like when inevitably some of these folks start to get divorced, you tell them this was it.
Yep.
Like if you get marriage to Dex Tweets and his wife are out.
Welcome back, everyone, as I would love to say. Welcome back, everyone, when I arrive at that venue. Don't do it.
No way. No go.
I can't do it. Hit the like button, subscribe button, SKOR North Extra Innings. For Judd, I'm Dex. We'll be talking at you guys tomorrow.